I got Erik Spoelstra, head coach of the Miami Heat. Spo, it's year 4 of me on the Heat radio broadcast, getting a chance to sit down with you. And I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. You've spoken about they already tried to get the starting lineup out of you, which I always enjoy your answer to. But this year will be the 20th anniversary of the 2006 championship run. And in preparation for today, I was looking at some videos of the celebration. Obviously, Wade grabs a rebound, he throws it up. You're in an oversized suit that's probably 3 sizes too big. And as the trophy's being lifted, Mickey's handing it to whoever he hands it to, and like you're smiling ear to ear. Can you just take me back to what you remember, that obviously winning a title, being a coach on that team, an assistant coach, but what do you remember about that entire journey that made it so special?
I mean, the first thing you say you're year 4 on this. I'm starting my 31st year.
Yeah.
That's 20 years ago. It just reminds you how fast everything is going. I really enjoyed being an assistant coach at that time. And that season was a tough season. There was some adversity right around the All-Star break. It didn't look like that team was going to possibly put it together, but it was just an amazing run during the playoffs. And then when we went down 2, it just reminds you there's always so much doubt on a playoff run where you're really going to compete for a title. You look back on it and it's so thrilling, but it's thrilling because of the things you have to overcome, and then being out down 0-2 and then having those electrifying 3 games at home. I mean, the place was absolutely rocking at home, and Dwayne was spectacular. But it was a really fun memory, and I'm looking forward to celebrating it this year. Do
you reflect on your journey specifically often? I mean, not to get too deep, but everybody knows how you climb the ranks within this organization. You've spoken about the deep respect you have from the Harrison family to Riley to Andy. But I just wonder how often you reflect on it. You're entering, as you mentioned, your 31st season doing this, and then even in 2006, you're an assistant coach. You're 2 years removed from becoming the head coach. I wonder how often you kind of just sit back and reflect on that journey itself.
I don't really spend a lot of time reflecting really on my own journey, but I was with Adam Simon when we visited our players overseas, and Adam was really my first assistant in the video room, and somebody asked us how we got started, and then he started telling stories of the video room back in 1995, and it was really a fun night. Yeah, he remembered a lot more than I did, but it's been a special friendship over the years. And I think the induction for Mickey, the Hall of Fame, I think was great. One, because we were able to celebrate and honor him, and everything that he's done for all of us and for South Florida. He's such a humble guy, and we were able to really just kind of acknowledge and honor him, for a night. But then secondly, I think the whole weekend was a celebration of our culture and the history of the last 30 years, and that was fun.
Right.
Everybody telling stories, and just we don't have a lot of time. Seasons go by so fast, we don't have a lot of time to reflect. And certainly Pat wouldn't want us to reflect too often, but that weekend we did. And that was a special moment.
I was fascinated with you when you spoke at the podium earlier, talking about your experience overseas. You're saying you broke bread with the guys' families, perhaps had a cocktail or two. I wonder, what's that like going overseas and being able to just, be almost a fan in itself, rather than looking at it from a coach's perspective. I'm sure you do, but what's that like for you to kind of take yourself away from how you normally observe the game and just be out there kind of enjoying the vibe?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was able to experience that with Bam, last year with the USA basketball program, where he was able to see me in a different light as an assistant coach, which is much different. And we were able to have a much different bond, during that summer. And, Simone, we were just getting to know each other when I flew into Rome. But with Pella, he was a rookie last year, so I was pretty hard on him, and that was really our only relationship, and
I'm noticing a trend, Spo.
Yeah,
with the young guys.
Right. So going over there and spending time with his family, and they picked the restaurant, picked what we were ordering and everything, and just having a lot of fun. because it was before they actually went to Eurobasket. It was just during their training camp. I was able to see a different side of him. I'm sure he saw a different side of me. I think that'll make it, more fun, this year. That's the bond you hopefully can create. And the same thing with Nico. We've been through a lot in 3 years. And he probably saw me as a certain way, when I wasn't playing him, or as hard on him on the details. And then to really spend time with he and his family. And again, they picked the restaurant. And his dad is a riot. I love his mom. And I've seen them in the family room and been able to say hi, but not spend that kind of quality time. And even meet his sister. I've never met his sister before. So Nico and I, we're able to break bread in a different way than we have, even though we know each other more than Pell and I have. It was special and it was fun. I wasn't his coach. I wasn't like trying to, tell him what he needed to do. It was none of that. I just wanted to hear the stories about when he was a kid.
Any specific meal that stands out to you? Something you ate overseas that you hadn't tried before?
Well, it's the Serbian dishes. They do an amazing job with their meats. And everybody took so much pride in that. So we went to a different steak place every single night. That was really good. And I'd never been to Belgrade before.
So I'll dive into this season. You already spoke about how you got to work immediately following, the difficult ending to last season. And I just wonder, kind of going into how you see Bam's approach, because you said, you're expecting a higher standard once again because he's the leader, because he's the captain. When you think back on Bam as a rookie, 9 years now, did you know he had that trait in him where at one point not only would he be the leader of the organization, carrying the torch of the culture, as you guys always like to say, but really being one of the guys in the locker room who is upholding the standard that you've set?
I can't say that I would have predicted that back then. It was more about putting together a plan, as a rookie teenager, to set him up for success and growth. Early on though, we started to call him No Ceiling, and he was drawn to UD. That was one of his closest teammates, and what a great mentor UD was to him. And I think that's the big thing for Bam now moving forward. He's been the leader. He's been our captain. He's going to have a great year for us. Now it's about mentorship. It's amazing to even say that, but it really is. And to be a really impactful mentor, you have to have a level of vulnerability and humility, that young players can really respect and build trust from, that you have their best interests in heart. And I think he has those kind of qualities. I can't wait to watch him grow in that area.
Do you feel like this is almost a new chapter for you in terms of a challenge? A lot of young faces on this team, a lot of guys like Bam almost coming in and trying to prove themselves, trying to prove themselves within this organization specifically, and just new faces in general. Like, is it almost a challenge for you that you embrace, or is it just, hey, new chapter for this organization and just business as usual?
Well, I love this craft of coaching. I absolutely love being part of teams, coaching in this association, and trying to build a team that comes together for something bigger than themselves individually. I love that whole process. I think we have a team, where there is some unknown, and I'm okay with that. And I want our players to be okay with that. I want our fans to be okay with that. Sometimes it can make you so uncomfortable that there's a little bit of an unknown. Well, I see that as a great opportunity for possibilities. And hopefully, the second half of the season, we're a much different team because guys were popping off the page and doing something that may have surprised each of us. I want to leave an open space for that growth. And it'll happen at different rates, for our different young guys. But I think we have a really exciting group of young players, and, we're all looking forward to seeing, what happens.
All right, rapid fire. I'll let you go after this. I always end with some silly stuff. Your favorite restaurant in Miami at the moment?
Right now, I have 3 young kids under 7, 5, and 3. So it ends up being any place that serves chicken fingers. It's horrible to say that, or pizza, or mac and cheese. I actually eat pretty well myself, and I need to do a better job with my kids. But that's kind of their staples, those three things.
All right, chicken tenders, and you'll finish them, right? If they don't finish
Yeah,
them, you'll
that's
throw them
the
down.
problem, where I wasn't eating that previously. Now I'm finishing up their meals all the time.
When you were in Europe, did you drink an Aperol Spritz? Have you ever ordered an Aperol Spritz?
I have not done that, but I had spirits that were given to me either by Nico's family or Pella's family. And I was able to have some nice wine with Simone.
Interesting. I'm going to ask him about Aperol Spritz as well. I want to hear his take. Best celebration cake, and with the kids, it's perfect. Ice cream cake, cookie cake, or just your plain sheet cake?
It's a chocolate cake with ice cream inside of it.
Okay.
I like it when that's at birthday parties for the kids.
And they have like the little crunchies inside. You enjoy
Even
that?
better, yeah. I just like the combination of the chocolate with ice cream.
Kindred spirits, Spo. And this one probably doesn't apply. You fly a lot, and I know it's more regimented with the team. But let's say you're not flying with the team. You're taking a commercial flight somewhere. Do you text your family before and after the flight? So in other words, you sit down before the flight takes off. Do you almost send like some sort of like, hey, taking off, and then when you land, you let everybody, you check in with the fam?
Well, this summer, the majority of if you're talking about my family, with my kids,
Right.
7, 5, and 3, they don't have phones.
They don't have phones yet?
So I'm not texting, and hopefully that doesn't happen for a while. So I'm usually with my kids during the summer,
Right.
And I'm not texting.
What about the folks? You check in with them, or?
Is that bad? I should say yes, but definitely not before and after a flight.
I mean, I'm 31. I'm engaged, but I'll still let the fam know, like, hey, flying out.
Yeah,
land,
okay.
You gotta let them know you're okay.
All right, I'll be more intentional about that next time.
Erik Spoelstra, thank you so much. Looking forward to talking the rest of the season, and good luck.
Alex, thanks.
Yes.